The chain on your e-mountain bike is one of the most important components to look after. Even simple things such as lubing your chain, you can make a few mistakes with. So in today's video, we're going in depth on everything there is to do with your chain. Right, so let's take a look at the simple bicycle chain. Now, your e-bike is definitely full of the latest tech, but the actual chain that powers it has been around since 1869 to propel a bicycle along. Now, with the involvement and the advancement of e-bike tech, we've seen stronger chains, more efficient chains, you've got stronger pins, thicker side plates. That tech has definitely moved on from 1869. So why do we still use chains instead of, say, a belt drive? Well, the chain in an off-road situation is the most cost-effective and the most efficient way of delivering the power from your motor to the back wheel. If maintained correctly, your chain is pretty much friction-free, meaning you're going to get the most range from your battery. Right, so let's take a look at this chain and all the little parts that it's actually made up of. It's made up of the outer plates, you've got the inner plates, the roller, which has got a bush inside, and of course the joining pin. The only part that needs the most lubrication is the roller, which does exactly that. It rotates around the bush. Now, these can wear pretty quickly if left unlubed, or the opposite, if they're over-lubed or they're full of gunk, you can see a lot of chain wear. Now, the chain roller in the bush is the actual part that's going to wear out on your chain, not the links itself. The best idea when it comes to chain maintenance is to keep it all nice and clean. Also, another vital thing is to use the right amount of lubricant and the right type of lubricant, depending on the conditions that you're actually riding it in. The product we are using in today's video are from channel sponsors Muc-Off. The techniques we are using in this video are the same if you were to be using other products. It's a confusing world when it comes to chain lubes. You've got ceramic lubes, you've got chain wax, you've got wet lubes, you've got dry lubes, you've even got e-bike specific lubes. Now, for e-mountain bike use, you either need a wet lube or a dry lube, or a lube that's going to meet in the middle, the all-weather lube. That's the best of both worlds. So let's start off with wet lube. Now, wet lube is designed to be ridden in some of the harshest of conditions. Its job is to hang onto that chain even when it goes underwater or the rain comes down pretty hard. Slightly more viscous and a bit thicker than the dry lube. It creates a protective layer of that chain, keeping the water and all that gunk off of it. If you were to use wet lube in dry conditions, it's actually going to do the opposite. It's going to attract all that dust and stick it to your chain. So it's really vital that you choose the right lube for the right conditions. Then there is, of course, dry lubes. Now, dry lubes, as you guessed it, are for dry conditions. Now, the tech in the dry lubes means it's wet as you apply it, but as it evaporates, it totally makes the chain nice and dry. It doesn't even feel sticky to the touch. So you've got a nice dry chain that is lubed and it won't pick up any trail debris. And as you'd imagine, if you're using dry lube in wet conditions, it's simply going to be washed off the chain. Another thing to think about when you're using dry lube on your chain, just needs to be applied a little bit more regularly to keep things running smoothly. So to keep things running nice and smoothly, I suggest you get a dry lube and a wet lube, meaning you're prepared for all conditions. Those dry summery rides, you can use your dry lube. When it gets wet and wintry, get that wet lube on your chain. That way you're going to be prepared for everything. So your chain lube is going to come in either a dropper bottle or a spray container. I tend to prefer the dropper bottle. It just means you can get a little bit more direct with that chain lube. You can lube it roller by roller. There's a lot less way to waste a lot of your chain lube. If you're using a spray bottle, it's quite easy to get carried away with that and lube a bit too much. Also, that spray lube can sort of drift across, particularly if it's windy, and get that dreaded disc contamination, meaning you're going to lube your disc brakes up as well as your chain, and that isn't a good idea. Now, a big mistake a lot of people do to their bikes is actually just adding a bit of lube to an already lubed drivetrain. Now, all this is doing, if you've washed your bike or been out for a wet ride, is you're simply going to lock all that moisture in the grime into that chain. You're also going to accelerate that wear of the chain by a lot by doing this. So if you actually look after your bike properly, a lot of all that gunk and the grit out of your chain should wash out when you come to wash your bike. But I actually like to get in the habit of degreasing the chain. I like to think clean, protect, then lube. So I actually use a degreaser on my chain before I lube it. The degreaser that I'm using today is a waterless option from Muc-Off. This means that I can simply apply this degreaser to my chain. I can agitate it with a stiff brush, then it's simply going to evaporate, meaning that I've got no moisture in that chain at all. Some other degreasers, you need to rinse it off with water after you've applied it. Sometimes it can mean that you're going to lock that moisture in when it comes to lubing the chain. Just be careful with the degreaser because it can be pretty nasty stuff, especially if it was to get onto your discs and other parts of your bike. So then it's just a simple case of spraying that degreaser onto the chain. Again, just try and keep it around the front chainring instead of the cassette. Let it do its magic, agitate it with a stiff brush, and whilst it's working, I just like to have a quick look around the chainring and clean the cassette off also, meaning that that area is also going to be nice and clean. You're not going to be adding any gunk from your cassette into that nice shiny new chain. Right, so it's time to apply a little bit of lube to the chain, but if you've got your bike in a work stand, this is pretty simple. You can pedal the bike round as per usual and apply the lube. But if you're not lucky enough to have a work stand and your bike is on the ground, you're going to find that you're going to back pedal it and your chain doesn't go anywhere. So a nice little hack, stick an Allen key into the chain ring and then you can back pedal it and the chain is going to move and you can apply that lube pretty easy, even on the ground. Now it's vitally important where you stick that lube. A big mistake a lot of people do is tend to apply the lube to the top of the chain. All you're going to do with doing that is actually create an area that contaminants can pretty much stick to. It's just going to be a sticky surface that is on the bottom of the chain, meaning everything's going to stick to it. If you're going to lube it, you need to do inside the rollers, meaning that lube is going to penetrate the rollers where the chain lube actually needs to be. And that is the part of the chain that is in contact with everything, your jockey wheels, your cassette, and your chainring is actually the inside, and this is where it's going to create that wear, and this is where that lube is going to last the longest. So remember, inside of the chain, not on top of the chain. The actual part of your chain that needs lubing the most is going to be the rollers. Now I like to take my time and just literally go around one by one applying lube to each roller as it passes. This is also a great time to inspect the chain to see if there's any damage, any split links or cracks or any premature wear coming on. Just take your time to do it. It really is worth it in the long run. Once you've finished applying that lube to your chain, if you're using dry lube, then it's just a matter of leaving that to evaporate, then you're good to go and hit the trails. You can have a nice lube chain. But if you're using wet lube, there's a couple of options. Sometimes if it's not crazy wet conditions out there, I just like to run a chain around that lube chain just to remove any excess oil. But if it's particularly wet and nasty out there, I leave it as it is. That way you can have that perfect layer to protect your chain from all that rain and all that gunk. So there we have it, that's the basics of chain care and maintenance for your e-mountain bike. Don't forget to be using the right lube for the right conditions and applying it in the right manner. That way you're going to get the most miles out of your drivetrain. Don't forget to get involved in the comments down below about how you look after the drivetrain on your e-mountain bike. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and don't forget to follow us on social media too. Cheers!